just built a workflow that automates lead collection from Google Maps, and it stores everything in a Google Sheet, and then it scrapes the website for information and stores that in a Google Doc that you can later use and read over and use when you're trying to come up with ways to get emails to your leads. So the page is loading right now, but you'll soon see the basic structure of the workflow. It starts with a when executed by another workflow node, and this node is effectively, in case we want to use this whole workflow as a method, as a tool for an agent. So we can just have this be executed by another workflow and then connect it to an agent. But funny enough, you'll see that this also has an agent node here. So I'm gonna stop yapping and I'm just gonna show you how it works. So right now it does an HTTP request to Google Maps, and then it does a whole lot of really cool stuff, and then it collects the websites on the first page, so on the highest ranking Google Maps websites, and then it performs HTTP requests for every one of those too. And then here it'll start doing some really cool stuff with that data that it gets, and then it will filter out all the websites that we actually don't want, so all the ones that didn't give us emails or numbers. And then here it'll create a Google Drive folder that we'll use to store the new documents that we want to store. And then here it'll effectively create all the documents that we'll use to store the new information that we want to store. And then it'll store all this information that it categorized over here in a Google Sheet that we can then reference later on in another workflow to send emails to leads. And then it'll get a chat to this Telegram assistant that I set up. It's a Telegram bot. And then after that, it will convert the data of the web page to a markdown so that this AI agent node can understand it and read it, and then come up with a way of explaining the contents of it and summarize the text of it. So yeah, after doing that summary, it'll send those to the Google Sheets that we created over here, and then it'll send a confirmation message. So it'll keep creating summaries, keep sending those to Google Sheets, and then keep sending a confirmation message to here. And the confirmation message will effectively tell us that a new document has been created, and it'll also tell us that it'll also give us the link to the document as well, which, yeah, funnily enough, is not working. That's the thing with agents. It's like even the smallest little tweaks can just like mess everything up. Okay, it'll be funny if I debug this live, so I'm just gonna do that maybe later. And this one is also throwing an error now, which should be funny. Okay, we can debug this now, but let's go through the whole workflow first just to show you what's going on. So here is the when executed by another workflow node, and the query I put in here is just a normal query, just Cape Town plumbers. And basically imagine you're searching on Google Maps, just Cape Town plumbers. Like, this is what's happening when the query gets sent. So how it's represented in the URL, like for every space there's a plus sign, so that's why we formatted it like that. So here's the HTTP request node, and as you can imagine, we're just putting that query in there. And you might understand now why it's so important, because like imagine if you're operating an agent and this is getting called as a tool. You could just tell your agent, hey, I want you to search for this, and I want you to collect some leads from that. It would basically collect all of that, and then it would run the workflow for you by formatting the query in the right way. So yeah, as you can imagine, this doesn't need any authentication because it's just Google Maps. but it does give us a whole lot of data, and that is just text HTML data with a whole lot of links and a whole lot of stuff that we might not need, or we probably don't need, which is why this next node is so important. It's the code node, and it effectively filters out all the URLs in the data just by using a regular expression search matching algorithm. So we're taking in the data from the previous. That's what this first line is doing. And then the second line is defining a regular expression that we want to find. So you might recognize this HTTPS. We're searching for every URL basically. And then we want to create a variable and then say data.match. So we're matching for every regular expression in the data. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to create a JSON, because every node has to return JSON, otherwise it won't work. So it has to return a JSON of URLs with the key URL, and we're going to map all of those URLs that we got to the information that we got in the data. So now we have 163 items that came out on the other side, which is a lot. So we have to filter it because most of those are useless URLs, as you can imagine. That's what this filter node is for. And basically we're just trying to check if these URLs aren't the ones that we don't want. So they don't have Google, they don't have gstatic, they don't have ggpht, they don't have schema, they don't have examples. We don't want those. We just want the ones that actually belong to the website, and that's why we kept 33 items. And as you can now see, we collected one that had the name absoluteplumbingcapetown.co.za, which is a website for a Cape Town plumbing company, which is kind of cool. Now we're doing something else, which is removing all the duplicates, because sometimes the web pages can store duplicates of URLs, like in case they are double instances of links going to the same place. So there's nothing we can do about that. We just have to remove all the duplicates. And this leaves us with 22 items, because we are comparing the field URL, which is the field that we got from the previous node. Okay, so the next node that we're doing is this loop and then this HTTP request. So as you can imagine, what we want to do again is we want to scrape from every one of those websites. And then, so this loop is it's just a normal loop. We're taking one item at a time. So that's what this batch size means. And then what we do here is we do an HTTP request to the URL that we got in the previous node, and then it returns us this data, which funnily enough looks exactly like what you might have seen in the previous one. That's because it is probably the same. And then here we want to loop through it again, right? Because it'll give us 22 of these data items. Actually, this time it gave us 21. So one of them must have errored. But the nice thing is that we actually went into the settings, and then we told it to continue on error. So because sometimes the HTTP requests can fail because you're a bot. So you get rejected from a website, and it is what it is. So if you fail, you just fail and you continue. So out of those 22, we managed to continue with 21, and then we loop over those data sets. So basically just strings of text on HTML, and then we managed to extract again. We managed to extract everything we want, but this time it's way more defined, because we want to extract not only just emails, but we want to extract phone numbers and URLs as well, and the title of the page, because the title is probably the most important thing. So yeah, we extract the data, the URLs, the emails, the phone numbers, and the titles, and then we return those as the result. And the result kind of looks, it just looks like a normal JSON with everything that we might need. But you might notice that some of these URLs are actually not useful URLs, and that's okay. That can be cleaned up later, but we don't need to clean it up right now. We can just leave it, because we know which one we actually want. We want this one, this absolute plumbing Cape Town.co.za. Everything else doesn't matter. So now what we want to do is we want to filter out the ones that don't have what we need. So this time I wanted to filter out the ones that didn't have emails because I was doing email marketing. If you're doing phone marketing, you might want to filter out the ones that don't have phone numbers, and you know, that's how you would do it. That's how you'd be able to get, you know, the phone numbers. So you'd be doing like cold calling and stuff. Yeah, that's how you do it. So the next node is the Google Drive node, and it creates a folder. So it basically just creates a folder in the drive, in the root folder, and it's saying 16 items here, but only one folder was created, because like only one folder with this name can exist. So the next thing that we created was this Google Doc. The Google Doc is important so that we can store the data that we're going to find. So we defined it as the name, website summary, and then we defined it as like the time right now, as like a function of the time right now. So we could have used even more information. Like we could have taken this title and just plastered it in here, and it might have made sense, you know, but that's just something that we can do later on. Just for the purpose of this demo, I decided to just keep things as is, just to show you guys like what is actually possible with automation. So here, what we're doing is we're storing all this data that we filtered out. We're storing it here. So we want to store all this URL information, this email information, this phone information, title, and search query. And if you, okay, let's check out the Google Sheets. But like, if you understand something about email marketing, you understand that most email marketers don't send just one email to a prospect. Like they send at least 2 or 3. Right, most of those are follow-up emails just to like check if there's any interest, because sometimes people read emails and then they don't respond, or they just read them but then they're not ready for it. So it's like sometimes it's just to, you know, gauge the interest or to create even more interest in a prospect. So yeah, it's also useful to store the time that you actually scrape the data at, and as well as store the document ID that you want to reference later on, when you are trying to sort of like, if you have this email and you have this document ID that's going to store the information of where your node, like where you have this Google Sheet. The Google Sheet is storing the information that you want to use in your cold emailing, and then you have this document that's going to be storing the information that is going to give more context to the email. So, because like what you want to do in an email is you want to personalize it. When you're sending out an email, you want to like make it personal to them. So you want to input some personal information about who they are or what they do, and that's what the Google Sheet effectively creates a system where everything can be in the same place and it can be referenced from the same spot, which is great. So that's why we're storing the document ID over there, so that we can just call it later. And then here we are getting a chat. So basically we are getting a chat information for a chat, so that the agent can know which chat to send a message to later on, just as a confirmation of like having created the documents. And we get the ID here, which is fine because we can use this ID later on. So yeah. The next thing is this markdown node. So the markdown node is very important, because it takes in the data. So the HTML data that was created from like every so like when it was looping through and sending out HTTP requests, it got this HTML data. So with the HTML data, if we try to run it through ChatGPT, it might just cry because that's just too much information. So it's better to convert it to Markdown, just so that it can be like easier to read. And then when we do that and send it through to you know, the AI model, in this case we're using in this case we're using the Gemini chat model. So yeah, we're using the Gemini chat model, and what it is doing is just you know, we can check out the agent definition over here. So we're telling it to please summarize the web page content, ensuring that you cover the most critical aspects comprehensively while still comprehensively. And the summary should include, and then we add some like points that it should actually cover. So like the main themes and the key points and the important statistics and the relevant quotes and the actionable insights and everything like that. And we then tell it to, we then give it the website page content, right, which is the data that we got from the markdown node. And then what we do is we tell it, we give it some rules. So we say, please ensure that the summary is concise yet detailed. And then what we want to do next is we want to tell it what to do afterwards. So it's like after you're done, you want to put the information that you just generated into a Google Doc, and then you also want to send a message on Telegram. So that is just a simple just text for tools agent, and it should have worked, but it's giving us an error, so I guess we can debug it now. Let's go ahead and do that. So so it seems like this was forbidden, and it's telling us about credentials. So let's check it out. So okay, we're using the Telegram account, so like the credential that we're connecting with is an actual credential that should be working, since we've been communicating with this Telegram assistant for a long time now. So like it shouldn't be impossible for us to get the information from it, or the information to it. So the description seems fine as well. We're just sending a confirmation message on the document update to the Telegram chat, so it should be fine. Okay, and then next, what we're doing here is, so the chat ID also seems fine. It's just the ID from the get message, from the get the chat node that we used specifically to get the chat ID. And then we're allowing the model to define the text that it's sending, and then everything else. Okay, and we're also telling it to not append the n8n attribution, because that's probably the most annoying thing. Okay, I don't see the problem. Okay, let's check some information. So disable notification, disable web page preview, reply to message ID, message thread ID. Okay, no, none of these are going to be helpful, and I don't think it's the reply markup either. I just think it is the actual like definition of the node. It might be getting confused somewhere. Okay, so we set this manually. Okay, that's fine. Let's check here. It cannot read the properties of undefined. It's reading parts. So okay, this might just be like a situation where it was running and then it came out, like it came up with an error because the agent itself had like a different kind of execution from normal. So let's just run it again. If the error persists, then we'll try to check something deeper. So we run it again with the same parameters, and then yeah, it's doing the same thing again, doing the HTTP requests, and these ones take a long time, but everything else should be relatively like quick, which is nice. Even if like we're dealing with a lot of items. Excuse me. So it's only 14th item now. 16, 17. As you can imagine, like it takes time to scrape data, because some web pages are like incredibly long and they're full of text that like something just needs, like they're full of text and images and like all sorts of other things. So it takes a lot of time to like scrape data. Okay, here it's looping through the data, and as I said before, like this process is very quick, very very quick. It's just isolating the numbers, the emails, everything that we actually find useful. And here it's going to take away all the ones that we don't need, and then it creates the folders again, which is already been created. So that's why I probably just skipped over. And then it's creating the Google Docs, so it's like 16 of them, and then it's updating the sheet, getting the Telegram ID of the Telegram chat, and then it's doing the agent again. It's the agent. So let's see if it has any errors. Okay, there we had one item, we had 3 items, 4 items, 5 items, 'It seems to be working. It's just that it's probably the same message, right? It's just like sending the confirmation message. How's your day going, bro? Mine's going exceptionally well, as you can see. Okay, now it's dealing with 20 items, which doesn't make sense because it's supposed to be only dealing with 16. So the model is like taking into okay, no, the model is doing a lot, so it should be doing twice like the amount of calls that the other one should be doing, because it's actually operating the whole system. So every time it's generating a document, it's also doing something else, so probably like 3 times the amount. So since there are 16 items, it should be maybe do 48. We'll see. So it completed the creation of 9 of these Google Docs. Why don't we check one out? Okay, so first I think I might show you the scraper itself, the Google Sheet that's storing all the information. So yeah, as you can tell, I was doing a lot of testing, Washington DC real estate, Chicago plumbers, all sorts of testing for like a few days already. And this is a lot of information that like some people would love to have, and we just got it like in a few minutes, as you just saw. So, and now it's not going to throw any errors for the Telegram assistant, but okay, for the Google Doc, but it is going to cry because of the Telegram assistant part. And I was right on the money. So I have 16 items here. I want to try something just to see. So I will send a message to Telegram just to see if it's the actual, like, the tool, the Telegram tool that's, crying, as I say. So I'll send a message, just a normal text message, and then I will grab the chat ID from here, and then the text will be, we just generated we just created a Google Doc for you. And since there's 16 items, there should be like 16 messages, if I'm not mistaken. So for every single message, we want to append the Google Doc. We'll go ahead and just put in the so it's docs, right? Docs dot Google. Oh no, it's okay. It's docs.google.com/documents. Okay. And then slash, it should be /d and then whatever the ID is, the document ID that we created before. Let's get rid of the space so that it's an actual link. It's docs.google.com/document/d/. Okay, so this should be fine. I just want to test it out and see if it actually cries again, like, because if the problem is with Telegram, that's fine. I just have to change something. Okay, let's run it again. So we'll change the parameters, the query that we're putting in. Let's change it to something fun. Johannesburg. What's a service? Okay, let's just do real estate again. Okay, we'll save it and then we'll run it again just to see how it goes. Okay, and it's doing the thing again. It's probably going to take like a bit of time, but it is what it is, that's just how scraping goes. It's just like a lot of data. Actually, the idea for this came from my need to generate leads, because like I'm running an agency, so I was learning about lead generation because I felt like I was ready to like give out my services, and I am ready to give out my services. So I was learning about lead generation, and I ended up learning about email, marketing, and how it works, how cold emailing works, how to structure an email so that you get the best results. And then after figuring that out, I figured I could just learn about how to create a system that stores email leads for me. And so I came across a system that was only taking emails, but I figured, can't you just store more data? Like, what would happen if you stored the data that you were getting off of these websites and then you actually used it? Because actually this whole section, it was like not being used. Like, the only thing that was happening was that this Google Sheet was probably like over there after the filter. So, and it was only filtering out like maybe some like a few things. So I figured I could actually get more bang for my buck if I just stored more data on whatever I was working on. And I feel like I was right because yeah. Okay, so it had another error. It is what it is. Like, this is just what happens when you and it's the same error. It's just reading parts. So we've already come across that before, and we understand now that it's not really a problem on our side. It's a problem on the agent's description side, on the agent side. So we'll just run it again. So as I was saying, I was coming up with a system for for lead generation, and I figured I could just store more data on the leads just so that I could have more context. Because like, if you have more information on someone, like if you because websites have so much information on people, if you had the information of like what someone does or where they're located, then you could have more context when you're sending them the cold email. So the normal cold email script is like just a bit of personalization at the top. So you call them by the name, or you call them by whatever, or you like give them a compliment of whatever they on whatever their people are doing, and that's very useful. But it's only useful if you're able to like have the information in the first place, which is why it's so crucial to like get the information here instead of just like in just one run, instead of just having to create it again in another time. Like, just do one run, get all the information and store it just so that you can use it later. That was the idea, and that was why I came up with this flow, and that was why I put the agent at the top. Okay, there's nothing to be done about it. We're getting told to check our credentials, but yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. This worked in another workflow, but it's clearly not working this time, which is so sad. But okay, I guess we can just check out the document itself. Okay, let's put in the document ID. Just grab one, just a random one. It's one of the updated documents. Here we go. And yeah, just put it in there. And you'll probably see one of two outputs, right? The first type is the type where you see a message about the like a bot filter, where it's like, this is a bot filter, and this seems to be we seem to be defining the URL wrong, which is kind of funny. Oh, I get it. It's because there were like 3 O's in Google. That's way too funny. Okay, it should go now, and it should show us something cool. So Palm Golding Properties is primarily a platform for property listings, catering to those looking to buy, rent, or sell property, mainly in South Africa. Important statistics and figures: Southern Africa's largest independent real estate company, global network of over 300 offices. Property development prices range from 990,000 to 85 million. International property development prices are listed in all these sorts of. So, like, as you can tell, there's like a ton of information that we stored, and this information is very useful when you are trying to like email someone. You could compliment them on the fact that they've done so much. You could compliment them on the fact that they are able to, list a lot of properties. You can compliment the fact that they have featured properties in all these different places. Like, there's a lot you can do, and this just showcases the potential of this type of technology, which is really cool. It's unfortunate that the Telegram integration didn't work. It would have been cool to like send a message to myself, telling myself that it worked, because like in case I was actually operating this from a Telegram. So imagine a Telegram agent. I'm operating the agent from Telegram, and I'm telling it to scrape leads with this search query, and then it would do that by executing this workflow, and then it would send a message back to me, which, it's, as I said, kind of sad, but it is what it is. The system works. It needs a bit of tweaking, and it's probably prone to errors which are fixable, but that is just the thing with the game. Like, it's just most of the time you're trying to control the outputs to like be similar to like what you expected or what you hope for. That's why prompting is so important, and that's why controlling the flow of everything and like the flow of information is so important. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was very embarrassing with that red node just staring at me. I know I did, and I hope to see you next time, where we'll probably be doing something even cooler than this. So yeah, let me just delete that node so that I can feel like it a little bit better. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.